big. You know, we lose
Right.
all that, the housing crisis and all that. This coronavirus, this is not going to go away, in my opinion.
Well,
this is like a common cold.
Well,
So
when we look at the Spanish flu pandemic of 1918 and 1919, it killed 675,000 Americans. It killed 50 million people worldwide, but it killed 675,000 people here in the U.S. Just so people understand.
That's a lot of people.
Yeah, and there was less people in the U.S. back then too, and it killed 675,000. Yeah. We're at 210,000 right now with coronavirus. Okay, and
that's a whole lot of people.
Yep, and you had President Woodrow Wilson in office then, who was not upfront with the people. Just like you got this incompetent president here who has not been upfront with the people to level with them, to explain what's going on, not pushing conspiracy theories. Now, notice this, man. The treatments that they give him, the treatments that one experimental drug and steroids, but they didn't give him hydroxychloroquine, and they didn't give him Clorox bleach either. Notice that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Hey, he said Woodrow Wilson. He ain't no different. He wasn't no different than Donald Trump. Woodrow Wilson.
He was smarter.
You know,
he was a little.
Birth of a Nation and all. You know. He was a racist.
Yeah, but he was a little smarter than Trump, though, man. But okay.
yeah, he was a little bit smarter. Yeah. And our people go for this. He gets his talking points and all that foolishness. These people told you the real deal, what was going on, and he could have told us.
Well,
he could have told the people.
Well, this is what happens.
We would have understood.
Well, see, leadership is about judgment. It's about judgment, about competency. I mean, Donald Trump has declared war on scientists and science for the last 3 years. This is what you get, man. When you have somebody who's dismantled pandemic teams, when you got rid of the predict pandemic team in late 2019, when his national security advisor John Bolton in May 2018 removed Timothy Zimmer, who headed up the National Security Council pandemic team, removed him from that position. That position was never filled again. When you go through and study this, you see a dismantling of pandemic teams, and you see a firing of scientists, and you see Trump has been declaring a war on science. This is why he said climate change was a climate change was a hoax. He's been saying that for some time. Now he's backed off of that, but he's not taking aggressive action to address climate change, to address these environmental issues. So okay, all this ties into politics. All this is connected. All right. Okay, man. Okay, we got to keep going. Okay, thanks for calling. Keep listening, okay? All right. 313-778-7600 is the calling number. 313-778-7600 is the calling number. If you have a question or comment. Okay, so we're back on our Facebook fan page, The African History Network. The African History Network. We're back on YouTube. So those watching us there, Michael M. Hotep on YouTube and The African History Network on Facebook. It should be clearer. And I record all these with my HD video camera also. So we rebroadcast these all throughout the week. So you get to watch these as well. 313-778-7600 is the call-in number. 313-778-7600 is the call-in number if you have a question or comment. Okay. So when we look at the article from PolitiFact.com, and do I still have it up? PolitiFact. It was dealing with the claim that Trump made 128 federal judges vacant on the federal bench when he became president. It was actually 105. They broke down why. I want to go to this clip here. So December 2019, Moscow Mitch McConnell was interviewed by Sean Hannity. There was an article from yahoonews.com. Mitch McConnell brags about blocking Obama for 2 years, then laughs about it. Okay, let's go to this clip. No, not that. Hey, Jalen. The second clip in the article, it says Jason Campbell, and it has the tweet, and it has
Let's talk about the issue has come up. Let's say somebody were to retire at the end of this year, leading into the summer. You have been very clear. If the president appointed somebody, you would follow through on that nomination.
Absolutely. We definitely would do that. And this paperback that we were just talking about, the president's foreword is about judges. My afterword catches up what's happened during the Trump administration on judges, because my memoir came out 3 years ago before the president was elected. What we've done here, the president and I together with this paperback that you've shown on the screen, is to talk about how the Judge Project came about, how it went forward. If you recall, Sean, the most important decision I've made in my entire political career was not to fill the Supreme Court vacancy when Justice Scalia passed away. That was the beginning. And now we've got an exclamation point here after 3 years that we thought the public would be interested in reading about. And that's why the president and I collaborated on this paperback.
I was shocked that former President Obama left so many vacancies and didn't try to fill those positions.
I'll tell you why. I was in charge of what we did the last 2 years of the Obama administration.
I will give you full credit for that. And by the way, take a bow. All right, that was a good line.
Okay, so that's Mitch McConnell. This is from December 2019 on Fox News, Sean Hannity show. Here's Mitch McConnell bragging about blocking President Obama's federal bench nominations in the last 2 years. He's explaining what happened. Okay, people don't. So a lot of times we just focus on the president. You don't focus on the legislative branch of government. That's a co-equal branch of government. This is why I tell people you have to read the U.S. Constitution. All this is explained in the Constitution. Go to loc.gov, Library of Congress website, the Library of Congress website, or archives.gov, National Archives. All this is explained in the U.S. Constitution. Article 1 lays out the powers of the legislative branch of government. Article 2 lays out the powers of the presidency. Okay. All right. So if we look at the fact checking from the Washington Post, they had some really good fact checking here. We're going to highlight some things here. In the contentious first presidential debate between Donald Trump and former Vice President Joe Biden, Donald Trump repeatedly relied on troublesome, and false assertions that have been debunked through his presidency. Joe Biden, by contrast, stretched the truth on occasion. Here's a roundup of 21 of the most noteworthy claims that initially caught our interest. We also published a follow-up report with an additional 32 claims. As is our practice, we do not award Pinocchios when we do a roundup of facts in debate. So this is from the Washington Post. So I've read fact checking from the Washington Post, New York Times, and NBC News. Now, Donald Trump did a whole lot more misstating and just flat out lying than Joe Biden did. All right. There were some misstatements that Biden made, but Trump did a whole lot more. So I just want to just look at a couple of maybe look at two. Well, for sake of time, may look at two. Okay. Just so everybody's clear, Donald Trump did not bring back Big Ten football, as he claimed. He said, I'm the one that brought back football. By the way, I brought back Big Ten football. It was me, and I'm very happy to do it. Trump opposed the college football conference's game suspensions, but that's about it. He and other White House officials indicated federal resources were made available to the Big Ten, but one person familiar with the process told the Washington Post that the conference has not been given nor has it requested federal assistance. Okay, so he was just lying there. Let me see. There's a couple of that I wanted to hone in on. We already talked about the federal judges because I did not get a chance to print this out here. So there's a couple of others. Drug prices will be coming down 80 or 90%, Trump said. There is just no evidence for this pie in the sky prediction. In fact, prescription drugs are 3%, are up 3% since Trump's first full month in office through August, according to the Consumer Price Index. In 2019, we found generic prescription drug prices had fallen slightly under Trump, while branded drugs were becoming costlier, according to numerous studies. Trump issued a brief executive order September 13th, telling the government to experiment with how Medicare pays drug companies. He has been promising several iterations of this idea for nearly 2 years, and the Department of Health and Human Services has never actually proposed rules for how such a policy would work. Okay, he's lying once again. And also, he's lying when he says they have a new health plan ready to go, because his attorney general is in court right now to repeal the entire Affordable Health Care Act and kick 20 million people off of health care during a global pandemic. That case goes before the U.S. Supreme Court November 10th. Okay, 1 week after the presidential election. This is why Trump also wants to get his Supreme Court nominee seated on the bench to rule in that case. And that would kill pre-existing conditions. It'd kick at least 20 million people off of health care, et cetera. All right, now he gets the best health care in the world, but he's trying to take away health care from taxpayers. Imagine that during a global pandemic. Let's get one more here. Okay, Trump said Joe Biden said there were 100 million people with pre-existing conditions. Donald Trump said there are not 100 million people with pre-existing conditions. Okay, Washington Post says Trump is wrong. There are an estimated 102 million people with pre-existing health conditions, according to a 2018 report by the consulting group Avalere, Avalere. But depending on where people get their insurance, such as the half of Americans who get it from their employer, premiums would not necessarily go up for all 102 million people if Trump succeeded in nullifying the Affordable Health Care Act. Premiums would not necessarily go up for all 102 million people if Trump succeeded in nullifying the Affordable Health Care Act. His administration is in court challenging the law, and in May, he told reporters, quote, "We want to terminate health care under Obamacare," end quote. So those who are confused, the Affordable Care Act and Obamacare are the same thing, okay? Because there was a poll that came out from New York Times about 2 or 3 years ago where almost 1/3 of Americans did not know that the Affordable Health Care Act and Obamacare were the same thing, all right? So, okay, we already talked about the federal judges, and all right, so we'll post this link here. You look at the fact checking. Go watch the 2.5-hour broadcast I did where I broke this down. Oh, this is a good one. The fact Biden said the fact of the matter is violent crime went down 17%. Then he said 15% in our administration. It's gone up on his watch, referring to Trump. So Joe Biden did not nail his usual talking point. He did not nail his usual talking point. So this turns out to be false. In discussing his record, he often mentions violent crime. But when he discusses Trump, he talks about murders. This selective presentation puts Biden in the best possible light and Trump in the worst. As its source for the violent crime data, the Biden campaign pointed to a 2017 report by our colleagues at factcheck.org on statistics about the Obama administration. Citing the FBI, factcheck.org said, quote, "The number of violent crimes per 100,000 population was nearly 16% lower in 2016 than in 2008. So 2016, last full year of the Obama administration. The number of violent crimes per 100,000 population was nearly 16% lower in 2016 than in 2008. And the property crime rate dropped nearly 24%. The property crime rate dropped nearly 24%, but the murder rate did not drop at all. It was 5.4 murders per 100,000, both in 2008 and in 2016. Okay, this is citing reporting from the FBI. So if Joe Biden compared his record on murders, he would not have much to brag about, the Obama-Biden administration on murders. There was no improvement under Obama. As for the stats for as for the stats so far in 2020, the campaign cited calculations by crime analyst Jeff Asher, Asher, who compared the non-population adjusted data for the 25 biggest cities for the first 7 months of the year with the first 7 months of 2019. The number of murders went up 26%, but the number of violent crimes is essentially flat. So the number of murders under Trump has gone up 26%. The first 7 months of 2019 compared to the first 7 months of 2020. Murders under Trump have gone up 26% year over year, but violent crimes are essentially flat. In other words, Biden's jab at Trump is wrong. There has been little change in violent crime under Trump. Murders have gone up, but little change in violent crime. Okay, so read the fact checking from Washington Post. We'll post a link here in the thread of our broadcast. Fact checking the first Trump-Biden presidential debate. NBCnews.com also has some really good fact checking, as well as the Washington Post, because I looked at all of them. All right, and then how much time we have left in the show, Jalen?
You have 3 minutes.
Okay, 3 minutes. All right, let's go to let's look at Breonna Taylor. Let's see. We got that article here. We saw the grand jury tapes were released. I think that was Friday, and it was like 15 hours of grand jury tapes released. It causes more questions to be asked. NBCnews.com has this article. We posted a number of articles dealing with this. Breonna Taylor Grand Jury recordings paint chaotic, confusing scene. A judge ordered the recordings to be made public following a court motion filed by an unidentified grand juror. So newly released, this is from October 2nd, 2020, newly released grand jury recordings, including testimony from police and witnesses in the Breonna Taylor case, paint a chaotic and confusing scene leading up to the woman's fatal shooting. In the recordings released on Friday, police officers said they knocked and announced their presence before entering Breonna Taylor's apartment. But her boyfriend said he did not hear officers identify themselves and instead fired toward the front door. Earlier this week, an unidentified juror filed a motion asking that the judge unseal the transcript and records related to Taylor's March 13th, 2020 death. The judge had ordered for the recordings to be released Wednesday, but Kentucky Attorney General Daniel Cameron filed a motion for a 1-week extension to give his office time to redact the personal information of witnesses. So we saw on Saturday Night Live, Megan Thee Stallion called out Attorney General Daniel Cameron as well. The Huffington Post, Black Voices has an article about that. None of the 3 officers who fired their weapons that night, Sergeant Jonathan Mattingly, Detective Miles Cosgrove, and former officer Brett Hankinson, were charged in connection to Breonna Taylor's death. Last week, the grand jury indicted Hankinson on 3 counts of wanton endangerment. Okay. On Friday, one of the lawyers representing Taylor's family applauded the grand jury and accused prosecutors of hindering justice. Sam Aguiar, Aguiar, said in a statement, "This grand jury was great, paid attention, asked important questions, sought critical evidence that was not made available to them, had critical observations, and they were stonewalled every step of the way by a prosecution team," Daniel Cameron and his prosecution team, a prosecution team that had a predetermined outcome and a disingenuous agenda. End quote. Now, the recordings are approximately 15 hours long and cover the grand jury's session from September 21st through September 23rd. At one point during the proceedings, a detective for the Attorney General's office named Herman Hall was asked if there was a formal plan for the raid at Taylor's apartment. He said, "I'm not aware of one. I'm not aware of one. Not aware of a formal plan for the raid at Breonna Taylor's apartment." Okay. Read the rest of this from NBC News. Breonna Taylor Grand Jury recordings paint chaotic, confusing scene. We'll continue for a few more minutes on our Facebook fan page, The African History Network, The African History Network, and my YouTube channel, Michael M. Hotep, IMHOTEP. Thanks for tuning in to the African History Network show on 9:10 a.m. Superstation WFDF. Right now, it's correct wrong behavior. It's not over till we win. Wakanda forever. Stay tuned for Pastor Mo. We'll talk to you next week. Peace. All right, those watching on Facebook, stand by, and YouTube, stand by. We have to disconnect from the radio station. Okay, so we'll be here for a few more minutes. How's everybody doing? We had some technical difficulties broadcasting the first part of the show. How's everybody doing? We'll be here for a few more minutes. Let's see here. Okay, so let's continue with this Breonna Taylor story, and let's flip over, monitor this on Facebook. Let's see who we have here. How's everybody doing? You should be able to hear me better now. Okay, can y'all hear me? Okay, Erica, Lakeem, Alpo, just a few of the people watching us on Facebook. All right, let's continue here. We may do a little more fact check. I have time that we'll get to. We may get to one or two more fact checks from the debate also. And let's see here. We have we can play this. We've got, okay, we've got that. Let's go to the debate here. Let's, okay, we'll get that queued up. We have a recap of the debate coming up also. Stand by. Okay, this is fact checkers.
Did you use the word smart? So you said you went to Delaware State, but you forgot the name of your college. You didn't go to Delaware State.
Biden did not claim he attended Delaware State.
And the fact of the matter is violent crime went down 17%, 15% in our administration. All right. It's gone up on his watch.
There's been little change in violent crime under Trump. Murders are going up 26% under Trump.
Seattle. They heard we were coming in the following day, and they put up their hands, and we got back Seattle. Minneapolis, we got it back, Joe, because we believe in law and order, but you don't.
Okay, officials in both cities denied the Trump administration had any involvement with their decisions.
They're sending millions of ballots all over the country. There's fraud. This is going to be a fraud like you've never seen.
Okay, some states are mailing ballots to all, hold on, let me pause it. Some states are mailing ballots to all registered voters. Others are mailing ballot applications. 6 states are doing neither. Some states are mailing ballots to all registered voters. Others are mailing ballot applications. You fill out that ballot application, send it back, and they send you a ballot. 6 states are doing neither.
Drug prices will be coming down 80 or 90%.
Okay, so prescription drug prices are up 3% since Trump's first full month in office through August. Trump is doing some of these executive orders that don't mean anything. Some of these executive orders he's doing are as worthless as a degree from Trump University.
Hunter got thrown out of the military. He was thrown out, dishonorably discharged.
That's not true. He wasn't dishonorably.
Cocaine use.
Okay, Hunter Biden was discharged from the Navy Reserve after, let's see, after, what was it? I'm trying to see that. Hunter, what is this picture in picture? Hunter Biden was discharged from the Navy Reserve after, let's back up some here. Okay, he was discharged from the Navy Reserve after a drug test, but he was not dishonorably discharged. He was not dishonorably discharged. Okay, so that is it's a short video here in this article from the Washington Post dealing with fact checking. Let me look at this other one here. Let's see what we have here. Okay, stand by. We'll get that up. We'll go back to Breonna Taylor in just a minute. Some of this I had already prepared, and some of these clips disappeared on me. So stand by.
As far as the ballots are concerned, it's a disaster. A solicited ballot, okay, solicited is okay. You're soliciting, you're asking, they send it back, you send it back. I did that. If you have an unsolicited, they're sending millions of ballots all over the country. There's fraud. They found them in creeks. They found some with the name Trump, just happened to have the name Trump just the other day in a waste paper basket. They're being sent all over the place. And take a look at what happened in New Jersey. Take a look at what happened.
Okay, so only 5%, not 30 or 40%, only 5% of ballots were linked to fraud allegations in Paterson, New Jersey. Now, Donald Trump said they found ballots in, he's talking about in the Philadelphia area, they found ballots in rivers, things like this. So there was a press conference, and Kayleigh McEnany, the White House press secretary, she was asked by the reporters, which river did they find these ballots in? And who found the ballots? She couldn't answer the question. They asked, which river? He said they were found, they said ballots were found in rivers. Which rivers were these ballots found in? She couldn't answer the question. He's just making stuff up.
In Virginia and other places, they're not losing 2%, 1%, which, by the way, is too much. An election could be won or lost with that. They're losing 30 and 40%. This is going to be a fraud like you've never seen. The other thing,
President Trump,
it's a rigged election.
There's no evidence of these false claims.
I'm urging my supporters to go into the polls and watch very carefully, because that's what has to happen. I am urging them to do it. As you know, today there was a big problem. In Philadelphia, they went in to watch. They were called poll watchers, a very safe, very nice thing. They were thrown out. They weren't allowed to watch. You know?
Okay, so the Republican Party has no poll watchers currently certified in Philadelphia. I did this fact checking in the 2.5 broadcast that I did after the debate. All right. The Republican Party currently has no poll watchers certified in Philadelphia.
Why? Because bad things happen in Philadelphia. Bad things.
Okay, so Philadelphia has a higher African American population. And so what he's doing is targeting cities that have higher African American populations because they're more likely to vote Democratic. He's targeting them. Not see when he is calling for his supporters to go and be poll watchers. He's basically telling them to go into inner cities. He's not telling them to be poll watchers out in their own communities. He's not telling them to be poll watchers in suburbs. He's not telling them to be poll watchers in rural areas where they live. He's telling them to go into other people's communities and be poll watchers there. Let me try to pull this up right quick, and then we'll go back to the Breonna Taylor for just a minute. Let me see if I can find this fact checking here dealing with poll watchers. All right, there was one. Let's see. It was dealing with Philadelphia. Hold on. All right, we can't. Okay, that's not coming up. And there was one other clip I was trying to, find. Let's see here. Did we get those up here? All right, just a second. Let's see what. Okay, that's Washington Post. Okay, I'll try to pull one up. All right, let's go back. How's everybody doing? We have Hasselt, Daryl, Delaware State is a HBCU. Nobody did not attend. Yeah, Trump was just all over the place. Erica, Janai, Jason. Linda, Daryl. Okay, just a few people watching. Okay, we'll go to this one here from MSNBC just a second. I had some of these pulled up, but I was in the rundown sheet for tonight's show. One of the versions of it did not save the links that I had, so I got to go back and try to find these. Okay, so Stephanie Rule on MSNBC does a fact check. Trump and Biden's remarks on the economy at the debate. Let's go to this clip.
Peter, to you first. The president's claim over and over the greatest economy ever. Can you fact check this for us? Because we were in an economic expansion. The president then put in place the largest tax cut ever that impacted corporate America. That tax cut cost us so much in a shortfall in terms of tax revenue. We were then forced to cut social programs that hurt the people at the bottom. That tax cut didn't actually do what he said it was going to do, and we saw the economy contract in 2019. Can you explain this?
I mean, this is the debate. We saw the nub of it. And again, there was so much chaos last night. But this is I think the seed of a debate that's probably worth having. It's the V-shaped recovery versus the K-shaped recovery, right? And we got a bit of that. The V-shaped recovery is what the president is claiming, that if you look at the equity markets, the stock market, if we've seen the bounce back, if you look at the jobs numbers, Stephanie, as you said, they're really bad, but they're better than a lot of economists predicted. So there is, and largely because of a bipartisan effort on stimulus and the Fed's action, so it's not Trump's doing. Biden's argument, which he got to, is this K-shaped recovery, which again, what you got at, which is the recovery has largely been concentrated in the wealthiest, right? If your gains in the equity markets have been largely concentrated in the big tech companies, which means that people invested in big tech companies, including the executives themselves, have gotten wealthy, but the rest of the economy has done very badly. Small and medium-sized enterprises, people who are being laid off, who have lost now some of this extra unemployment benefits that was part of the stimulus package. So that, to me, was at the nub of a pretty good economic debate that could be had, which, of course, was not had because the President of the United States decided he did not want to. Was not had because the President of the United States decided he did not want to actually have a real debate. There are substance on both sides. I think, frankly, as you said, Stephanie, most of the weight of the argument is on the vice president's side, but it's a debate worth having.
Ben, did Joe Biden miss an opportunity to have that debate? Because he actually had the facts on his side while the president polls better on economic issues. If you actually look at the facts, the president says over and over, Joe Biden just wants to raise your taxes. He doesn't. He's looking to raise the taxes of corporate America. They were at 39%, moved down to 21%. He wants to move them up to a midway point, which many business leaders, including Jamie Dimon, including President Trump's former economic advisor, Greg Cohn, say is a good idea. Did Joe Biden miss the opportunity to have that conversation? Because Trump would have you think he's going to raise everybody's taxes. And you know me, I'm all about the middle class tax cut, which we have never gotten.
Right. Well, Trump has talked endlessly about doing this middle class tax cut. He likes to talk about it close to elections and then never actually. Didn't miss an opportunity. He probably did, partly because he couldn't get a word in edgewise and kept getting yelled over and talked over. But there was an opportunity, in real time, fact check Trump about some of these economic claims. As Peter talked about, you talked about, we have gained a lot of jobs the last couple of months, but we lost 22 million, and we're nowhere near close to getting back those jobs that we lost. And the pace of job creation is slowing. And as you noted, small businesses, mid-sized businesses suffering very bad. 50% of all small businesses that closed during COVID-19 are closed for good. 26 million still getting unemployment benefits. So there were op-ed to say, look, this economy is not roaring back the way Trump says it is. It was not the best ever, the way he inherited a good economy. It was basically the same under Trump as it was under Obama. All the unemployment statistics were low when Trump was in, the first couple of years of his term before COVID, but they all started under Obama. The trends were no different. So, yes, he could have made those claims and said, yeah, I do want to raise taxes on the wealthy in corporate America. And guess what, Stephanie? There's massive support in the public for doing exactly that. So, yes, he could have done those things. A little hard to do when somebody is yelling at you all the time.
Of course. And no doubt, of course, the stock market would go up after that corporate tax break. Imagine he cut taxes in half for corporate America. President Trump also said he brought manufacturing back. He didn't. Manufacturing contracted in the last 4 years. One thing we thought we would hear more about last night, Peter, was President Trump's taxes and his personal finances. I want to share what he said about Joe Biden and Barack Obama's policies and why they're responsible for him paying so little.
Will you tell us how much you paid in federal income taxes in 2016 and 2017?
Millions of dollars.
You paid millions of dollars?
Millions of dollars.
So
yes.
not 750.
Millions of dollars, and you'll get to see it. And you'll get to see it. It's a tax bill that gave us all these privileges for depreciation and for tax credits. We build the building and we get tax credits like the hotel on Pennsylvania Avenue. You get a massive, which, by the way, was given to me by the Obama administration. You can believe that.
Okay, Peter, President Trump ran that line in 2016 and said, listen, you guys set the policies. I work the system as a private businessman. But once I'm president, I'm going to close all those loopholes and I'm going to work for the American people. Can you name one of those loopholes that benefit the super rich, that benefit private jet owners? What loophole President Trump closed to serve the American people in the 3 years?
No, it's an incredibly clear point. And frankly, what the New York Times reporting shows is actually some of the measures that were passed as part of the Trump tax cut have actually benefited the Trump organization. Now, look, it's not a bad line. The tax code is a mess, and the Trump organization was able to take advantage of it. But again, the New York Times reporting showed that no rich American anywhere has been more aggressive than Donald Trump in claiming some of these losses, carry those losses forward, and getting a $70 million refund. Again, this is an issue which clearly Trump is rattled on because I think his answer was repetitive and not particularly good. But because of his word salad and his yelling, Biden could not hit it particularly hard. But I think what we hear from our reporting out of Washington is that the campaign is very, very concerned about this topic. That, your average American, despite Trump saying, I'm smart, I'm just taking advantage of the tax loopholes, they look at a number and say $750, the President of the United States paid this. I am paying more of that. Many Americans are paying more of that in a month, never mind, in an entire year. So I don't think this line of defense is going to work for Trump this time. It's effective 4 years ago when he was not part of the system. He's been president of the United States now for 4 years, and the New York Times reporting has data on when he was president.
Okay, so it's from Stephanie Rule.
John, I'm not even going to ask.
That was from MSNBC, Stephanie Rule. Check that out. It's from September 30th. September 30th, 2020. Okay. And what was the name of that clip here? We'll post a link here. I'll give you the name of that. Fact check Trump and Biden remarks on the economy last night at the debate. Okay, that's from Stephanie Rule. Stephanie Rule is the senior business correspondent for MSNBC. So she knows her stuff. She actually used to work for Deutsche Bank. If I remember, I think she used to work for Deutsche Bank like years ago. All right. So let's go back to the Breonna Taylor story here. We'll be here for a few more minutes. How's everybody doing? Also, if you'd like to stop of information, you can donate to the African History Network, $ the AHN Show through Cash App, $ the AHN Show through Cash App, and then also through PayPal, paypal.me / the AHN Show, paypal.me / the AHN Show. If you want to advertise with the African History Network, email us at customers@africanhistorynetwork.com, customer service at AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. Okay. So we have a couple more slots left. We have a current promotion going on. We just brought on a few new advertisers. So I've been busy putting together commercials, etc. And one of our new advertisers is the Black History 101 Mobile. Okay. The Black History 101 Mobile Museum, I should say. It's Dr. Khalid Al-Hakim. Brilliant brother here in Detroit. For 25 years, the Black History 101 Mobile Museum has carried on the rich legacy of the Black Museum in America by showcasing original artifacts of the Black experience at colleges and universities, K-12 schools, corporations, libraries, conferences, and cultural events, making it the most traveled Black History mobile exhibit in American history. Dr. Khalid is a highly sought after public speaker on topics of Black history, social studies, education, museum studies, hip hop, and race relations. Dr. Khalid was named among the change makers for NBC Universal's Erase the Hate campaign and listed as one of the 100 men of distinction for Black enterprise. He recently founded the Michigan Hip Hop Archive on the campus of Western Michigan University. Okay. Please contact Dr. Khalid El Hakim directly at 313-645-4197, 313-645-4197. Also visit their website, blackhistorymobilemuseum.com, blackhistorymobilemuseum.com. The Black History 101 Mobile Museum is currently scheduling in-person and virtual exhibits nationwide. In-person and virtual exhibits nationwide. I've seen a lot of the artifacts he has, and it's fantastic. So definitely support that. Okay, go back to the Breonna the article dealing with Breonna Taylor and grand jury testimony. Okay, Breonna Taylor Grand Jury recordings paint chaotic, confusing scene. We're going to try to go to one of these clips here in just a minute. Try to get this queued up. Okay, so during the proceedings, the grand jury was played a recording.
Seven officers. Was there a formal plan between the seven officers as they made approach to serving the warrant?
I'm not aware of one.
He mentioned in there was a formal plan that he had an assignment, specific assignment for where to be positioned and located. So based on that interview, nobody has seen an actual formal plan to corroborate that statement.
No, ma'am, I haven't seen it. The only plan that I have seen, you guys have probably seen the race board when they did the briefing for the search warrants.
He said, my girlfriend is dead inside the apartment, and immediately my mind was like, did we come?
Okay, so this is Officer Brett Hankinson, foreman of the Louis Police Department, talking.
Did we come to something that already happened? That's what flickered in my mind was he killed a girlfriend prior to us doing. That's what I kind of, in my mind at the time, thought. And he said, no, shooting at you with a 9 millimeter. I don't remember his exact words, but I'll refer to the body cam. But he said she was the one that died us, and that she was dead in the apartment.
Okay. Let me back that up a little bit here.
Exact words, but I'll refer to the body cam. But he said that she was the one that shot at us, and that she was dead in the apartment.
All right, so during the proceedings, the grand jury was played a recording of Louisville Detective Michael Noble speaking with investigators from the police department's public integrity unit. In the recording, Noble said that he was briefed that Taylor might be home with a small child. According to Taylor's family, she would occasionally look after her sister's goddaughter. Noble said, quote, "We knew who the target was. We were told at the brief who the target was, and we were told that it should not be a problem. It was supposed to be her and her kid, maybe her and the small child there." End quote. Now, Louisville Detective Michael Noble suggested that because they believed a child would be at the home, they decided to announce themselves before entering the apartment. He said, quote, it was a no-knock warrant, but we wanted to give time. This is what he testified to in the grand jury hearing. Quote, "You could hear movement, but there was no answer. So John Mattingly and I decided, let's go ahead and hit it. John hit the door and I announced police several times," end quote. He said he hit the door handle on the first swing with the battering ram. On the second hit, the door partially opened, but he said it was still connected to the frame. The third hit knocked the door completely off the frame, Noble said. Quote, as soon as I hit the door, I went across the threshold and I could not see. It was pitch black, the detective said, adding that moments later he heard Mattingly scream. Quote, he just looked up and said, I've been shot. He went down and I could see blood immediately just coming out of his leg, Michael Nobles said in the recording. And then I think he took a couple of more shots. He was aiming at something in the door and he took a couple of more shots inside. Okay, so Michael Nobles' account that police announced themselves before entering the apartment echoes similar statements previously made by the Louisville Metro Police Department. During a news conference last week, Attorney General Daniel Cameron of Kentucky, state of Kentucky, said that a civilian witness corroborated those claims. Okay, now, as we talked about in last week's show, there were about 12 witnesses. About 11 said they did not hear police announce themselves. Only one said they heard police announce themselves, but that was after they were interviewed 2 months after the first interview, because when they were interviewed the first time, a few days after the March 13th killing, they said they did not hear the police announce themselves. When they were interviewed again 2 months after that, then they said they did hear police announce themselves. So I go back and watch last week's show because I go through and break this down, how the witness changed their story. The one witness that Attorney General Daniel Cameron is citing, okay, changed his story. Okay, so now Breonna Taylor's boyfriend, Kenneth Walker, as well as multiple neighbors, have said that they did not hear police announce their presence. Louisville Police Lieutenant Sean Hoover said during an interview conducted on the night of the raid that officers knocked on Taylor's door 3 times before entering. A recording of his interview was played for the grand jury. He said, we knocked on the door, said police, waited, I don't know, 10 or 15 seconds, knocked again, said police, waited even longer, Hoover said in the recording. So it was the third time that we were approaching. It had been like 45 seconds and not a minute. And then I said, let's go, let's breach it, end quote. So officers had obtained a warrant for Taylor's home as part of a narcotics investigation. The target of the probe was Taylor's ex-boyfriend who lived at a different address. In a preview of what would be his own defense at trial, for wanton endangerment, former officer Brett Hankinson told grand jurors in face-to-face testimony that he believed there was someone in the apartment repeatedly shooting automatic rifle fire, which he assumed was an AR-15. There is no evidence to support this from either the police, ballistics, or her boyfriend, Kenneth Walker. No other officers report being under that same impression. Now, former officer Brett Hankinson said this is the reason why he fired through closed blinds into the apartment, according to the recording. He said he saw muzzle flashes from inside the apartment, but there is no evidence to support that. After police forced their way into the apartment, the apartment, Kenneth Walker fired a shot at the door, striking Officer Mattingly in the leg, police said. Now, attorneys for Kenneth Walker have expressed doubt that the shot fired by their client hit the officer, and some have even suggested Mattingly was struck by friendly fire. Okay, as we talked about last week, USA Today reported, they picked up the reporting from the Journal Courier there in the Louisville, Kentucky area, that the ballistics were not conclusive, that the gun that the bullet that hit Officer Mattingly was from Kenneth Walker's gun. Okay, it was not conclusive. Also, we find out that Officer Hankinson, I think it was Officer Hankinson, had been issued a 9mm handgun as well, which was the caliber of the gun that Kenneth Walker had. Let's see here. Ballistics. So USA Today, ballistics report doesn't support AG claims that Kenneth Walker shot cop. This is from USA Today, September 27, 2020. Sergeant Jonathan Mattingly was shot in the thigh. Officer Brett Hankinson had been issued a 9mm handgun in addition. Wednesday night on CNN, Steve Romanis, one of Kenneth Walker's attorneys, said he had obtained a Louisville Metro Police Department record showing that Officer Brett Hankinson had been issued a 9mm weapon as well. Now, Attorney General Daniel Cameron said Wednesday at the press conference they had Wednesday before last that the investigation of Breonna Taylor's death March 13th ruled out, quote, friendly fire, end quote, from Officer Brett Hankinson as the source of the shot that went through Sergeant Jonathan Mattingly's thigh, prompting him and Officer Miles Cosgrove to return fire, killing Breonna Taylor. But the Kentucky State Police report says that, quote, due to limited markings of comparative value, end quote, the 9mm bullet that hit and exited Officer Mattingly was neither, quote, identified nor eliminated as having been fired, end quote, from Kenneth Walker's gun. So they're saying the ballistics report is inconclusive. Yet Attorney General Daniel Cameron drew a conclusion from the report that the Kentucky State Police are saying is inconclusive. Okay, so read this full article. We talked about this last week, and for the sake of time, I don't have time to get through all this. USA Today, ballistics report does not support AG claims that Kenneth Walker shot cop. And then also September 26, 2020, news.yahoo.com, sole witness, S-O-L-E, sole witness who heard cops announce themselves in Breonna Taylor raid changed his story. All right, so go check this out. For the sake of time, you can read these articles. I don't have time just to go back through all of those. But we dealt with that last week's show. Okay. Okay, so read the rest of this. We'll post this link here. Breonna Taylor Grand Jury recordings paint chaotic, confusing scene. NBCnews.com. This is October 2nd, 2020. Okay. And we'll post this link here also. Where is... All right, how's everybody doing? We've got Ethelda, Greg, Alberto, just a few of the people watching this. Follow us on our Facebook fan page, The African History Network, The African History Network. Click the follow button and click on like. And then turn on notifications so you know when we go live. Also follow us on our YouTube channel, Michael M. Hotep, I-M-H-O-T-E-P, Michael M. Hotep on YouTube, I-M-H-O-T-E-P on YouTube. Okay. All right. Also, the website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. All of my DVD lectures there. We have digital downloads, some presentations also. So if you'd like to stop information, $, the AHN show through Cash App, $, the AHN show through Cash App, and also through PayPal, paypal.me /the AHN show, paypal.me /the AHN show, or at our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. Click on the yellow donate button. It helps us keep doing the research, stay on the air, keep broadcasting. And you can advertise with the African History Network. Email us at customer service at AfricanHistoryNetwork.com, customer service at AfricanHistoryNetwork.com also. Okay. All right. All right. Look, hey, we have to get out of here. Remember, at the African History Network, we focus on educating, empowering, and inspiring people of African descent throughout the diaspora and around the world, because right now it's corrects wrong behavior. What you do for yourself, what you do to yourself, and what you allow other people to do to you and get away with is based upon what you think about yourself. What you think about yourself is based upon what you have been taught about yourself. What you've been taught about yourself is based upon everything you've read, heard, and seen about yourself. Remember, right now, let's correct wrong behavior. It's not over till we win. Wakanda forever. We'll talk to you next week. Peace.